Welcome everyone to this episode of Manufacturing Talk Radio. I'm Tim Grady and I am here with Lou Weiss. Together we host Manufacturing Talk Radio, and Lou is the president of All Metals and Forge Group, the sponsor for the show. Their company produces open die forgings and seamless rolled rings for industry. If you're looking for that product, go to steelforge.com. Joining us today is John Mead. John Mead. John is the vice president of sales for Totalogistix, Totalogistix. So go to totalogistix.com if you want more information, which you're going to want more information when we finish speaking with John, because we've got so much to talk about in the world of supply chain. John, it's a mess. How do we straighten it out?
Well, Tim, first of all, thank you for having me on the show today. Appreciate it, to you and Lou. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a silver bullet, right? There isn't anything short term.
Thanks for being on the show.
Sorry, Lou. Have a good day, guys. No, there isn't a short-term solution to this, and where we really is going to require a lot of different groups working together to come up with some solutions to ease some of the tension. But it starts with the ports, but then then goes to the drivers, then it goes to the warehouses and beyond there. And there are a lot of issues at every level. So we need to get busy helping to solve these. But I think what every shipper out there can do is to work very diligently to make sure that the rest of the house is in order. And making sure that they're doing everything they possibly can to manage the rest of their business as effectively as possible. I think Lou and I had a conversation the other week where he was talking about his contracts with his ocean contracts coming out. And, the ocean lines are negotiating right now for your May-to-May contracts. And that's occurring now. So, that's a good news, bad news kind of thing. Right, you're getting a forecast of what 2022 into 23 is going to look like, but the bad news is it's going to be much higher than you've ever seen pricing before, and I think that's a reality, and how we all choose to deal with it now, how we all can deal with it, is what we all need to figure out. Our position has always been to recommend you got to leverage relationships. You got to leverage technology, and you have to make sure that you're doing everything you can to make sure that the rest of your business is moving and managed as effectively as possible.
Aside from raising prices on our customers, what is the solution? Because, just one more point, because the big question is, and has been, can we pass these higher expenses on to our clients? Well, the answer has become yes, because we need goods, our clients need goods, their clients need goods. So we're going to be paying for it all up and down the line, just like we are with the Trump tariffs. Were we passing it on to the customers? Is our other companies passing it on? Of course they are. They complain, they gripe, but they understand. Mm-hmm. My feeling is, like what you said, is how do we find the solution to this?
Yeah, so the money going out, right, to pay for these increased costs is definitely causing a lot of angst, right? And the ability to pass on those costs to the client is not always there. We all know that, right? You can't just say, oh, I'm getting charged more, so I'm going to pass that on to you. That's, over time, that is a gradual process that is accepted, and maybe they'll come to understand the reason for it. But short term, it's not. And that's why you really need to look internally and start to tighten the belt. Start to leverage any technology you can. TMS systems, transportation management systems available in the industry. That helps any shipper to automate that order to ship process. And the technology out there is fantastic. You have a wide variety of offerings depending on your need, and you know there's a right fit. So my recommendation there is just to make sure you do your homework, do your research. We have a system that we a proprietary system that we developed early on. We developed it because we were in the market using a third-party system and felt that it didn't address enough of our needs, so we developed our own. And that's really what you need to assess in the research process, is to determine what system is best going to suit and address the needs that you have as a shipper.
Can you explain your home-brewed software solution?
Sure. So, as I said, it helps to automate that order to ship process. So we just launched with a client recently, and they had 3 people managing the shipping process, right? And those 3 people, it took about 6 hours out of their day to manage and ship roughly 150 shipments a day. Okay, so today we implemented our system, and within 6, probably more like 8 weeks, they've now reduced that to 1/3 of the time, and with 1 less person. So they're able to ship the same volume with 1 less person because, you know, the efficiency of the system and the savings that have been achieved through implementing that technology has reduced the labor cost. It's also made them more aware and more compliant with best practices. So least cost routing, mode optimization, load consolidation, all of those things drive savings to the bottom line that then can help you absorb some of those costs that are coming. And if they're not already on your doorstep, they are coming. But those are the kind of things that you have to start to achieve and first investigate, find the right system, but then embark on those projects, because those projects will pay dividends. They'll drive more savings to your bottom line and help you absorb some of these increased costs.
So from what you just stated, you're dealing with the problem by squeezing the last bit of expense out of the administrative side of logistics. It's not addressing, and I'm not faulting you, but it's not addressing what's causing this in the first place.
Yeah, because, you know, you and I, Lou and Tim, we aren't, between the 3 of us in this conversation today, we're not solving the problem. Believe it or not, we aren't going to come out with a solution today that's going to alleviate the world of the supply chain issues. And nor are we coming to an end of this issue anytime soon. I think this issue is going to be with us well into 2022. So our recommendation is to again influence our clients to tighten the belt. You know, do everything you can internally to operate as efficiently as you possibly can, because if you're not doing that, then the impact of these increased costs are going to be pretty brutal and pretty difficult to absorb. And, you know, depending on how understanding your customer base is, I know for a lot of our customers, when our prices increase, they're not ready, willing, and accepting of our increases. They want to know why. They want justification, right? So, you know, I think it's all of our responsibility as individual companies to make sure that we're operating as efficiently as we possibly can. And in doing so, you know, you will come out, you know, I hope we all come out the other end of this thing, and you know, continuing to do business as usual.
You mentioned earlier in our pre-show get-together about price gouging, and you know, the news media is what it is, and they say certain things and don't say other things. And frankly, it's only been the last 2 or 3 years that they even talk about manufacturing, no less come up with solutions. But now they talk about manufacturing, they talk about logistics, they talk about all these things that are plaguing us. No one's talking about price gouging. Are they afraid to talk about it?
Oh, that's a fair question. That's a fair question that I don't have a immediate answer for. I do know that, you know, these as I said, Maersk just posted record profits. UPS and FedEx are posting huge profits. I think, you know, UPS also just posted a historical profit for the quarter. You know, so yes, I mean, they are certainly taking advantage of the situation and implementing higher than customary and historical increases. You know, the UPS and FedEx typically are in step with their annual increases, which they take in January. This year, they've jacked it up a percentage point. And, you know, when you jack up a percentage point, a full point over the total business that they're handling on behalf of the US and globally, that's a substantial uptick in pricing. And again, I mean, they're gonna suggest that it's due to the congestion issues, the constraints that they have delivering into congested areas. And they have very good explanations for why they need to take these increases. But at the end of the day, you look at the earnings reports, and you're seeing substantial increases to their profitability. So
There you go.
I will stop there.
That's the point. So increased profits means price gouging.
Your interpretation, though.
It is my
John,
interpretation.
I've got a question for you in terms of the pricing puzzle. 2 years ago, a container coming across from Asia to the US was 2,000. They found a way pre-pandemic to get it to 4,000. Then the pandemic hit and all kinds of labor issues on ships and on shore. They found a way to get it to 20,000 a container. I understand it's tailing off a bit, but short of a recession, I don't expect those container costs to come down much. Do you see them tapering off anytime in the near future that would say to companies that might become your customers, sit back, relax, it'll be okay?
Yeah, no. I mean, once the carriers, whether they be ocean, land carriers, parcel, LTL, full truckload, once they get a taste of those rates, it's very difficult for them to take a step back and give back, you know, those revenues. The reality is it will, you know, the competitive nature of, you know, capacity, demand will subside, and we will have a leveling out or right sizing of the rates. But again, I don't anticipate that to be within the next 12 months. I think that's going to be hopefully towards the end of 2022, but it may continue into 2023. I don't know. It's hard to say.
So let's talk about the customer here who has goods brought in from either Europe or Asia or some other country. What can your company do to help them work on that supply chain to squeeze cost out? Does it start with the loading of the container overseas all the way through? Where does it begin? Where does it end, John?
Yeah, I hate to again sound like a broken record, but the data. It's all about the data, big data. You know, we've been hearing this for a better part of a decade. With supply chain, it is the same. You know, you need to understand the DNA of your shipping activity, and in order to do that, you need a partner or you need someone in-house who is collecting that data in the right way and in providing you visibility to that activity. And once you have visibility to that activity, you can now start to identify areas of opportunity, right? Areas of pricing where it may be high and not competitive, and pricing where, you know, you may see an opportunity for cost reduction through maybe consolidation, maybe through who you're using, partnering with a different carrier may provide additional savings. But without that visibility, it's hard to make any of those determinations, right? It's hard, as we say, if you can't see it, you can't improve it. You have to see it in order to make these improvements. And in order to see that visibility or see that activity, you have to start doing a very thorough data collection. And that data collection happens, so the way we offer that data collection is during an audit process. So we provide a service which is a freight audit and pay. And all of our clients' invoices come to us, Totalogistix. We do an audit, data capture, and reporting process. Now that provides a number of services right off the top, right? It provides an audit, which in the shipping world, there are numerous mistakes made each and every day, every week, throughout the year. So we find on average about 3% of your spend is being billed incorrectly. Okay. If you don't have the proper process and technology in place, allowing you to audit that efficiently and effectively, you're not identifying those overpayments, those mistakes, and you're not catching them, you're not correcting them, you're overpaying. Okay, so have a partner who can help with that process. Industry studies.
I think at this point, it's really important. I think you ought to give us your email or URL address so that people can take advantage of seeing, the behind the scenes of Totalogistix and see where they might be able to salvage.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so you can reach us at www.totalogistix, and again, not an easy name to spell, so I'll help there. It's total, TOTALOGISTIX.com. So yeah, please do reach out. My email is jmead@totalogistix.com, and I'm happy to help with any inquiries. But on the data management, the freight audit and pay, once we capture up to 50 different fields of information when we do the audit process. And with that 50 different fields of information, over time, it creates a very robust reporting engine and system for us to now evaluate what you're doing, how well you're doing it, and make any suggestions regarding opportunities or areas of risk. You may be missing out on a significant opportunity just because you've never been able to pinpoint where the leakage was. And for most of our clients, when we engage, it becomes a whole new world when we start to do the data capture and reporting of their activity. They see their management of their supply chain in a much different manner, right? In a way in which they can now say, "Wow, why aren't we doing this, or why aren't we consolidating this product with that?" And that's why you need to have that kind of visibility. So again, not many of our prospects that we call on each and every day have a process in place. It's just what we've always done. When we go in and meet with them, we say, "What's your audit process?" And typically, you see a lot of looks around the room, right? Everybody's looking at each other, not really sure what to say. But we eyeball it. We eyeball it. We look and see if the discount looks right. We see if the right carrier was used, and we approve it. We send it over to accounts payable, and they pay it. Great. The fact is that it costs. Industry studies suggest that it costs the average shipper anywhere between $3 to $13 to process a single invoice. Now that's $3 best in class, right? That's a company that's really doing it as best they can, to the $13 who, they're the guys who are looking around the room at each other. And we've seen all types, right? And there's very few at that $3. So really, there's most are at that $7 to $8 range. We process it for $1 per transaction. So it's a hard service to say no to, and one that makes you that much better immediately.
On your website, do you have sample reports so that a prospective client can see in advance what you're talking about?
Yes. We have sample reports being our weekly, our quarterlies, and with each client, our support is very unique to them. I mean, it's a custom solution so that we're addressing the needs that they have, because every company is a little different, right? Everybody has their nuances and strengths and weaknesses. We're trying to fill in those gaps, those weaknesses, right? To make sure that they have those skill sets that they need in order to operate stronger, more productive day in, day out.
So John, aside from the audit, what else do you provide? And I'll tell you why I'm asking the question. In a perfect world, as I see it from maybe a sales room where you get lots of questions about where's my shipment, because the customer's asking me where's their shipment, and I have to answer them. I liken it to when I walk into the airline terminal and I see these big screen TVs and I can see every flight, when it's supposed to depart, what gate it's at. Does your technology provide something similar that says, these are the goods, they're in this container, they're going on this ship, they're going to leave port here, they're going to arrive port there? Any of that transparency available?
Absolutely. And a great question. Visibility is probably the single biggest requirement that any company out there needs to effectively have to manage their supply chain. And visibility starts with, that order creation, right? And right where with the TMS that we talked about earlier, where you automate that order to ship process. The TMS technology doesn't stop once it ships. That's really once it gets through that first process. The visibility component from that point forward, to your point, critical, right? Because you have a number of key stakeholders involved with the process at that juncture, right? And what we're trying to establish is shared information that makes everybody better, more efficient, more informed at every step of the way. So back in the day, I think UPS was one of the first to really adopt this. They had 70 different call centers around the country. And they found that, by pushing information to the consumer, they were able to reduce the 70 call centers to 3, with a huge advantage, huge cost savings. But that's because they made information available to the customer, so they stopped getting all these phone calls. The TMS does the same thing. Okay, when the shipment goes out, the technology follows that order, right? And it now, as soon as the shipment is confirmed, a message is sent to the recipient, the customer, to say your shipment has been shipped. We shipped it with this customer. Estimated time of arrival will be this day, and this is the carrier delivering that product. And the other helpful information is, did the order ship in full? Did the PO ship in full, or did it ship short? And if so, what products didn't move on that order? Because your customer could be receiving that and planning production, right, on the other end. They need to know what items were short in order to properly manage production. So very key, great question. Visibility and shared information across the supply chain to the key stakeholders is certainly something that every TMS needs to have and provide.
And does the customer have access to the information so that they don't need to make that phone call? They just go into their computer or log in and they can see what's what and where?
Yeah, so that's also a nuance, right? That's a nuance, as we talked about. Every customer, every shipper is a little different, right? And in some, it's maybe an internal company transfer, and you're shipping raw material to production, or something to that effect. But if it's going out to a customer, yeah, it's up to you between you and your customer how you want to share that information. Most companies, it's just a ASN, automatic shipment notification, and that just sends a link to the client. It's just like getting an email in your box in the morning, and then you click on it, and it alerts you to what's coming inbound. That eliminates the customer service phone calls, the sales phone calls, production phone calls, and allows everybody to be more efficient and more informed at the end of the day, which is the critical part.
I'm
John,
really,
what kind of
I'm
logistics-
really turned on by this. I really am. Because we get the phone calls all the time.
Yeah.
Where's this? Where's that? When's it happening? Why isn't it? You know, and on and on and on. I would do it just so we didn't have to get the phone call.
John, what
Well,
kind of
it's just another headache you can cross off.
Right.
yeah, right. What kind of a logistics spend, if that's how you measure it, do you have to have internally before All Metals and Forge Group could call you up and say, you know, I need you in-house. Well, come work with us.
Yeah, so it's right around that. We say $1 million, but the reality is it depends on your modal profile. So what shipping modes are you? What is your challenge today? Really is what it should start with, right? Is what are your challenges today, and what are you trying to achieve? For some, just having a TMS, it almost doesn't matter how big you are. If the TMS then delivers efficiency that drives savings to your bottom line, you should be considering it. But I've come across all sorts, but typically what we look at is $1 million spend and higher across some various modes is really a good candidate to where we can come in, drive some significant savings, meaningful savings to the bottom line, help our inside champion to justify the investment and to really make sense of that relationship.
Well, certainly something worthwhile for almost any manufacturer who's doing multiple shippings, inbound, outbound, and warehousing, and so on and so forth. That sounds terrific. Tim, what I meant to ask you was, are you global in your services?
Yeah, so we grew up, in the U.S. Very domestically, but one of in fact, it was our first client that we ever signed, New Jersey-based company. Probably about the late 90s, came to the realization that manufacturing and distributing their product in the U.S. from New Jersey wasn't cutting it. The cost of manufacture in New Jersey was high. Distribution to the West Coast clientele was also high. We helped them. We helped to evolve their footprint. And what that entailed initially was they moved their manufacturing down to South Carolina. That worked for a short period of time, I think probably 4 or 5 years. And then they needed that next phase of efficiency and global reach, because now they were starting to ship their product, not just in the US, but globally. We then helped them to establish a footprint in China and relationships with manufacturers there. They imported the goods into the US. At that point in time, they were just using a single distribution center in Chicago and distributing it to their customers throughout. Today, they have distribution centers in Chicago, LA, and Toronto, and are flourishing well as a 130-year-old company. So those are the kind of things that we look to help our clients evolve, but also make sense of, because throughout the growth process, throughout whatever the challenges that each and every shipper has, you have to evolve, right? You have to make sure that you are staying current with technology, staying current with the best practices, and make sure that you're implementing those as efficiently as possible.
Sounds like a must-have.
Yeah, it certainly does. And you're saying, John, your phones aren't ringing off the hook. Maybe this will help them ring off the hook, because companies certainly have to look at this, as we have discussed. It's not going to get better, cheaper, faster.
Yeah, we were chatting with a company up in Massachusetts the other day, and they are so hyper focused on the container business that, you know, they aren't taking, you know, we asked our normal questions, qualifying questions, and they need help in multiple areas. But because they're so hyper focused on the international, you know, the rest of the business is probably suffering. I can't say that for certain, but you know, that's what we all need to safeguard against, is to make sure that we're not hyper focused on what's going on in supply chain. There's very little impact and controls that we can have to that. But what we can do internally to manage our business directly and as efficiently as possible, we have to. So I encourage, you know, any company out there that is struggling with managing any facet that we talked about today, you know, give us a call, give you know, someone, you know, any partner out there who you can do research on and find that can offer these types of services, reach out to them. It'll be a huge benefit to the system and the business.
For our audience who has joined us late, I'd like you to restate your URL and your email address.
Yeah, so we are Totalogistix. We're a supply chain management consulting firm offering our consultative services, but also technology tools offering, which are a significant part of our current offering today. You know, please feel free to reach out to us. We are a cost savings partner. We look to reduce your current costs while implementing and creating efficiencies within your operations. Certainly helpful for those companies who are looking to tighten the belt on costs. You can reach us at www.totalogistix.com. That's TOTALOGISTIX.com. And my name is John Mead. I'm the VP of Sales here, and you can reach me at jmead@totalogistix.com.
Thank you.
Thanks,
John,
Lou. Tim, appreciate the opportunity today. Any further questions or anything else we want to touch on?
I think we have a wrap here. I think that this information is vital, considering the conditions that exist around the country, around the globe. And just remember, when you hear this 100 ships offshore in LA, it's 100,000 ships around the world.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the website you mentioned earlier. And
yeah, matter of fact, I'll mention it here to the audience to go to marinetraffic.com. You will, if you're not sitting, you should be, because you will be shocked as to what is going on. You almost can't see water. That's how many ships there are out there. Marinetraffic.com.
Well, John, we appreciate you sharing with our audience, and we encourage our audience to check out Totalogistix.com. Go to their website. While you're surfing the web, we'd like you to go to jacketmediaco.com, which is the parent for this show and the other podcasts that we produce and broadcast. Once again, thank you for listening to this episode of Manufacturing Talk Radio.